Alright, so today we're looking at how to create a web service using Node.js. Now, there are a couple of prerequisites that you need. First is you'll need a IDE or a code editor. So I'm using the Visual Studio Code for that. So you can install either this or you can use any other IDE for that. Second most important thing is you need Node.js installed in your computer. So I've got that installed already. If you want to know how to do that, I'll link a video in description where I show you how to install Node.js, and I also leave a card on the top right corner right now. All right, so before we go ahead and create a web service, we need to understand why is this important, how is this so powerful. Now, Node.js, like I mentioned in my earlier video, is JavaScript runtime, which is a very powerful tool which helps you to run JavaScript. Traditionally, we used to run JavaScript only in our browsers. So Node.js gives us an option to create an entire web service or a web server using JavaScript, and you don't have to learn a new programming language if you have to create your own web service or a web server. So that's what Node.js enables us to do, and that's why we are looking at this video today. All right, so let's just jump into that. So I have created a folder in my directory, and I've opened that using my Visual Studio Code IDE or code editor, whatever you call it. Next thing is you need to install a package.json file, and you need to create an application, and for that you have to go to your terminal and you have to run npm init-y, and if I do that, it will, you can see here, it creates a package.json file for me which gives information about what all things are used in my application, what packages are going to be used. So these are the few, this is the first step which you got to do. Second is you have to create a file where you are going to write your JavaScript and which is going to act as your web server. So I'm going to go to this option, new file, and I'm going to rename that to app.js. So it needs to be a JavaScript file. Alright, so now I'm in my app.js file, and first I'm going to import my HTTP here. So I'm going to create a constant, name that HTTP, and what it's going to do is require, and it's going to take in my HTTP module. So I'm gonna get a HTTP object created over here which I'll be using to create my web server. Next is I'm going to create a constant for my port where my web server is going to be listening to the external requests. So this will be 3000. Let's say we're going to be listening at port 3000. Alright, so now we can start creating our web server. So I'll use the HTTP object. I'm going to say create server. Now this create server is going to take a callback function which has two parameters. First is the request, which is going to be coming from the external client, and second is the response which we'll be sending to the client back. Alright, so I have my object here, my callback function over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to send hello world to whoever is going to call my web server. So I'm gonna say response dot write. I'm gonna say hello world. Alright, so now whenever somebody requests something to my web server, I'm going to return hello world. So how can I request to my web server from an external client? So I've got to be listening somewhere. So I'm gonna say listen at port 3000. So all the requests which are coming at port 3000 will be routed to this web server, and I'm going to, and that request and response is going to come here, and I'm going to send some response to that guy, whoever is calling me. Alright, now just to check if my web server is running, I'm going to do a console log, and I'm going to say service running. Alright, so before we run it, we have to end the response as well. So we're going to say response.end, so which will make sure that the response has ended and the client can act on that response. So once we have done that, now we can run it, and you can see the service is running, messages here. That means our web server is listening at this port right now. So let's go to the browser and check if we can see the response there. Alright, so now I'm on my browser and I'm gonna type in localhost and port 3000 because that's where our web server is listening to, and you can see I've got my hello world printed over here. Alright, so that's how you can create a web server or a web service using Node.js. Now, in a real life scenario, you won't use Node.js directly to create web services. You'll create them with the help of Express, so which we'll be looking at in our next video. So make sure that you're subscribed to the channel and you hit the bell notification so that you'll be notified when the next video is published. Alright, so hope this was helpful. Leave down any queries in the comment section. See you guys in the next one. Bye bye.